The first week of October is like the July 4th of China, celebrated as the National Day holiday since 1949 by people in the fashion of family reunion, trips, hangout, and sometimes concert going. However, this year's week of celebration was cast in the shadow as China entered a third year of stringent measures to contain COVID pandemic since its outbreak in the end of 2019. Getting up at 8 a.m. is like hell to me on October the 1st, the first day of the holiday week, just to catch up with the premiere of a music theatre about archaeological discoveries of Sanxingdui, composed by Cai Donghua, performed at the Shanghai Oriental Arts Center. It's a 80-minute ride on the subway from where I stay. So I left home at 8:30 just to make sure that I could comfortably sneak into the hall seconds before the concert starts at 10 a.m. The plan was to remain at the venue for lunch because there is a second event of the day I was going to cover in the afternoon. Pianist Liu Ji's matinee in his complete cycle, playing Schubert mid to late sonatas. It's supposed to be a perfect day for a concert goer. New works in the morning, core repertoire in the afternoon, with loads of chit-chat and food in between. Till 2 stops away from the destination, when I got a message from Cai saying that the concert had to be cancelled and I'd better not show up at the doorway. It's for my own good. It first struck me as if there was a bomb at the venue, followed immediately by frustration that I had been notified only when I was so close to the venue. I feel like driving all the way from New York City to Wolf Trap for a concert when it was cancelled when you were already in DC. I look at the watch, 9:30 a.m., annoyed by confusion and driven by curiosity. I retreated to a nearby shopping mall. It's closed. After about 15 minutes waiting in humidity, I found myself a table in a cafe trying to figure out what's going on. The strength of a cup of double espresso kept me awake. The official statement from the venue didn't say much, except that all the activities of the day were cancelled. I called the composer, I called the conductor, and I called the soloists. In an attempt to solve the puzzle. It turned out that one of the sound engineers from Cai's team had been tested positive in a PCR test that morning. As a result, the decision to stop the performance was made just minutes before the audience were let in. The venue was in immediate lockdown as a contingency against the spread of the virus, meaning no one in and no one out, not even a fly. Actors, technicians, and the musicians of Tsai's production team, all completely healthy, spent the whole day in the auditorium living on free bottled water and the meal boxes until all of them in 4 hazmat suits were shuffled to a quarantine hotel around 1 a.m. in the midnight. There they remained locked for 7 days straight and were released on October the 8th when the holiday was over. Zhang Xujia, the conductor in Tsai's team, labeled it as a forced holiday week. Everything happening in the center for the first 3 days of the holiday were cancelled, in line with protocols of containing COVID infections regulated by Shanghai at that time, including the first 2 recitals by Liu Ji, fell on October 2nd and 3rd. The venue underwent completely disinfection, and when nobody was tested positive, opened its doors on October the 4th. When Liu Ji's final and 3rd recital was about to take place that evening. In a jaw-dropping and mind-boggling move jointly initiated by Eva Liu, the center's long-time program chief, and the pianist, Liu finished the cycle, which had been planned for 3 nights, in just 12 hours. He played non-stop from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. There is probably no better way to sum up the year of 2022 in China than the first week of October. The unfortunate majority in the music performing industry, a sector notorious for years of planning ahead, had to grapple with uncertainty, fear, and the financial loss. When concerts were prone to cancellation just hours, if not minutes, before schedule by the authority, just because someone from the neighborhood had been tested positive. China's draconian zero COVID policy led to complete or partial lockdown in nearly all of the major musical hubs in the first half of the year. Beijing, Shanghai, Nanning, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Wuhan, Chengdu, Chongqing, etc., etc. The Shanghai Spring International Music Festival, for example, which usually takes place every March to April, was muted. The Beijing Modern Music Festival, usually taking place at the Central Conservatory of Music every May, was gone for the 3rd year since 2020. The grand opening of China National Opera, new theatre in Beijing, was postponed. The scheduled national tour of the NCPA Orchestra under Liu Jia was first rescheduled and then cancelled. It's safe to say that if the concerts of 2020 are to make a book, then half of it is black. Concert life bounced back from July to late September, when Shanghai re-emerged from a harsh lockdown. Music in the Summer Air, or MISA, the week-long annual summer music festival presented by the Shanghai Symphony Orchestra, was able to go ahead largely as planned at the end of July. China National Opera opened its theatre on July the 1st, though the second half of the 21-22 season by most orchestras was reduced to nothing. They scrambled to open the 22-23 season as planned. Then came October, when the high-stake Communist Party Congress set off Xi's third term as the party boss. As China's nerve center, Beijing kept a tight control over everything, the flow of people and the flow of goods. Concerts were repressed, though with no direct or open reference to the Congress. The Beijing Music Festival, for example, founded and chaired by Long Yu, had to be cancelled for the first time since 1998, citing logistic irregularities. Shanghai Philharmonic Orchestra had to cancel the second season opening and the NCPA in Beijing, citing travel complexities. China has taken a roller coaster approach to its zero COVID measures towards the end of the year. The last 2 months saw restrictions relaxed. Concert promoters ramped up to make up for what's lost in the first half of the year, benefiting living composers. Major contemporary music festivals, originally scheduled for the first half of the year, were able to take place all of a sudden. From the beginning of November to the end of the month, China saw the 8th exchange of Chinese composers, a nationwide initiative for young composers to introduce and exchange their works, hosted by the Strand Conservatory of Music in Chengdu. The inaugural Shanghai Contemporary Music Festival, hosted by the Shanghai Conservatory of Music. The 11th China ASEAN Music Festival, hosted by the Guangxi Arts University, and the Hangzhou Modern Music Festival, hosted by the Zhejiang Conservatory of Music. The zero COVID policy seemed to be given up in December, as cities were busy removing health code scanners installed in public places, discharging weekly footprint indicators, and discouraging people from taking PCR tests unless necessary. These created a lot of confusion. Also a surge of concerts when the theatre's full capacity was restored. For example, 4 concerts took place in Shanghai on December the 10th, something quite remarkable since the lockdown began in March. Long Yu conducting the Shanghai Symphony in Brahms at the Shanghai Symphony Hall, Momo's cello recital at the Shanghai Oriental Arts Center, Chinese Asian Legend concert at the Shaoyin Opera House, performed by Shanghai Philharmonic under the baton of Zhang Liang, and a chamber music gala, including candlelight dinner at Elephant Go. Those are grounds for optimism among the sector that international touring may resume after March 2023, when she is elected head of state by the People's Congress.